Your dumbass forgot to grind for final shape. Don't worry. This is my too early final shape prep video. So we're going to go over every single weapon and armor piece, sort of, exotic-wise, that you guys should have for day one. I'm here with my boy, Clarity, from my day one team. Say hello.
What's up? What's up? Hello, hello. I'm excited.
We are, and we have much to talk about. So we have all of the weapons here. It roughly goes over everything, which is awesome. And I'm going to make it so it's a little bit more bright for you guys here, because I know on the recording it doesn't look as great. So there you go. So we're going to go over all this. And yeah, you lazy fuck who didn't prep, don't worry. Ace got you covered. So if you're missing anything, exotic-wise in the primary slot, we're going to talk about, we have Osteo. Or here, we'll just go through everything. So we have Osteo for exotic primaries because hand cannons are going to be on your artifact for overload. We have Fatebringer or Midnight Coup. On Fatebringer, you're going to want Firefly and explosive payload, or you can do explosive payload with Frenzy. Also gets Thresh if you want to be a little bit interesting. On Midnight Coup, you have Frenzy, you have Shoot to Loot, which I think is really nice. But the main perks you're probably going to want on this thing are Firefly and One for All, just to get that 35% damage buff, as well as the reload speed and elemental explosion is very, very nice. Like I said, there is Frenzy. And if they ever buff Kinetic Tremors, maybe something to keep your eye on, but for now, it's ass. Hung Jury, there's the old Hung Jury, the GM one with Shoot to Loot and Kinetic Tremors, and the newer one, which is slightly better for ads because it has Kinetic Tremors and Firefly. We also have Blast Furnace and Messenger, which are basically the same gun, except Blast Furnace gets Firefly, Messenger gets Under Over, and they both have Kinetic Tremors. So Under Over a little bit better for shields, Blast Furnace maybe a little bit better for ad clear. We also have Buzzard, which of course the sidearms are coming back. I think for Unstop, and Buzzard fits the bill for a lot of good things as far as the Kinetic slot. It gets Kinetic Tremors, gets Overflow. I think it also gets Fourth Times, a couple of things for ammo, but I'm pretty sure Overflow and Kinetic Tremors is the role that most people are running. Michaels or Michaels, whatever you call it. Reverence, the gun, the thing, the very fun and cool sidearm. It gets Frenzy, and it also gets Unrelenting. Very good option. You can also put Rewind rounds on it if you feel. Also gets Thresh. But yeah, probably just going to be Frenzy with Rewind or Frenzy with Unrelenting. Final Warning, of course, the exotic, incredible for ad clear and strand synergy. Very, very solid. Warden's Law and Malfeasance. Oops, sorry.
That is an absolute must bring. Definitely bring in Final Warnings, guys. Huge, huge.
Aegis also likes. Aegis approved. Aegis stamped.
For sure. A must have.
Yes.
Warden's Law.
Warden's Law, Malfeasance for the Lucky Pants men. Of course, like me, the Hunter man, you guys know. Lucky Pants go burr. We'd like Lucky Pants. Revision 0, you and I both talked about. With the buffs to this and things like Vex Mythoclast. Very, very good at nuking champs. Also with the pulses getting the big chunky buff that they do. Revision, something to keep on your radar. With new Outbreak returning. Outbreak is incredible. I recommend getting it with rewind rounds and specifically the, what's it called? What's the other one? I think that's it, right? It's just the origin perk with that. I think it's just rewind.
Yeah.
So yeah,
way to go.
Solid. If you want rapid hit, you can do rapid hit too. I probably just slightly worse. But yeah. Next year we have a lot of SMGs. So there's a couple. There's Submission. There's Multi-Mock. There's Adjudicator. Honestly, it's just a solid kinetic SMG. Submission gets Frenzy Subsistence. Multi-Mock gets Under Over and Kinetic Tremors. Adjudicator gets, you can do Subsistence and Kinetic Tremors. It also gets Under Over and Kinetic Tremors. Adjudicator gets a lot of really good stuff. Also gets Threat Detector, Kinetic Tremors. So yeah, Subsistence or Threat Detector plus Kinetic Tremors. And then yeah, you can do Subsistence Frenzy. You do Threat Frenzy. Or not, you never want to do Threat Frenzy, but you know what I mean. Lots of good options. Another thing that you can do is the Showrunner. If you guys don't have that, you can go to the Season of the Witch. You can get one with Kinetic Tremors and Overflow. The reason I don't have it on here is because The other ones are a little bit better as far as like what their sort of usefulness is as far as perks go. But the Showrunner is quite easy to get, which is why I'm mentioning it. Unending Tempest is on here. Unending Tempest is incredible. Gets a lot of different perks, and it's very easy to get from the Crucible. So just buying it like Riptide with your Ingrams. So you have stuff like Frenzy, Subsistence, you have Under Over, you have Demo. So yeah, Demo, Subsistence, Under Over in the third column. In the fourth column, you have Frenzy. That's mostly what you're gonna put on it. So there you go. We have Quicksilver, even with the heavy nerf. You and I talked about this too a decent bit. Quicksilver is going to be a lot more nerfed, and obviously autos aren't going to be as prevalent, but those grenades still very potent, very good.
Chunk mages, Chuck champions, still useful.
Yes.
Still useful.
Yes. We also have Thorn, a little bit more niche, but say you're using something where you really want to use a high-powered weapon to pop shields, like say you really need Cartesian, and you have your exotic slot open, something like Thorn is very nice, especially if you have to deal with overload champs for Final Shape because it's overload hand cannon. Something to think about. Lumina, of course, for damage rotations and just general use. Just getting that extra damage buff is very nice. So people like to mess around with it sometimes. We have Wish Ender here. It's a bit more niche, obviously, just because it's more of like a GM style. Usually don't play in the back. That's why I'm not really recommending Polaris Lance. So something to think about, but not really necessary. Cerberus with the auto, very slight buff. But mostly because of the rework and how they're making this specifically do a lot more damage. Cerberus is going to be very useful for things where you can't use something like Bastion, which is what we'll get to later. But yeah, Cerberus, incredible. Basically like something that is like ultra niche, but if it's usable, it's very good. And that's what a lot of these brackets are. Huckleberries, if you have that, exotic slot open you really want to use, and SMG that isn't Osteo. Osteo is just better, but, if you feel like using a Huckleberry, feel free. All right. Kinetic specials. We have Mountaintop, right? Specifically on Mountaintop, you're going to be wanting the autoloading and recombination roll, specifically with implosion rounds and hard launch, because you lower your blast radius. If you guys don't know, the more you lower your blast radius, the higher the actual damage number is for Mountaintop. I don't inherently know why, but that's what it is, because it's kind of a sort of direct impact weapon, so maybe that's the idea.
Yeah. It increases the impact damage, and the blast radius damage goes down, but it overall becomes a damage increase. So it's really nice.
Vorpal is also fine. Autoloading Vorpal. Autoloading Frenzy is probably what I'm going to use for specific double special loadouts. I'm probably not going to use many on day one, which is why we're not really recommending any trace rifles. I know a couple of people like Retrace Path, Ager's Scepter. Something to think about, but not really, I would say something that's going crazy in this event at the moment.
Yeah,
obviously.
Cenotaph looks.
Yes.
Really? That's it. Yeah. Pretty niche.
Yeah. As far as like I said, this is a too soon thing, so I'm gonna rip another thing before Final Shape. Raid the day before. You guys will see something on the 2nd after I've been messing around with the sandbox, or the 3rd, talking about all of the new weapons and stuff. But yeah, so something to think about. Autoloading, Frenzy, Vorpal, Recombination and Frenzy a little bit better than Vorpal, but yeah. Okay, Wither Horde, very solid. Add clear, damage rotation, sure, go crazy. Izzy, of course, is Anagi's Burden. Basically the best damage rotation weapon we have right now. We're not sure about the new sniper, whether it would be better or worse. We're assuming a lot better, so maybe Izzy might not be as useful. But say you really, really want to, use it, or you don't have time to get this weapon, or maybe we can't get this weapon right away before the Final Shape raid. Definitely something to think about. Scatter Signal, basically the best, fusion in the game right now. Incredible. Control burst is so good. Overflow, you basically just have 18 straight shots. It's awesome. Heritage, recombination, reconstruction. Get that high powered shot. It's old, very classic, usable weapon. We have Riptide and Deliverance. On Riptide, you're gonna want autoloading or lead from gold. With chill clip, field preps also somewhat okay. And then Deliverance, you're basically just gonna want demo chill clip. Compulsive reloader is like slightly okay. It's craftable though. Just get the demo one, it's slightly better. We have Condishi or conditional finality. Sorry, I put it in here because it's funny. Very useful. Freezing, ignitions, very good. Moving on. Supremacy, rewind 4 times, rewind connect tremors, all very good. Rewind bait and switch if you're using Gala is also interesting. Has a lot of practicality. Also gets a lead from gold if you're really hurting on that ammo. Irukanji is something to think about because the burst is actually going to be better than Supremacy off rip because you get that flat buff from Firing Line. You can do Firing Line at 4 times the charm. It also has Vice Stinger. So if you have a short time of damage, you want burst, but it's for precision damage, and you can't really use Supremacy as well. Or sorry, if you have your kanji, it's going to do slightly better, than Supremacy in certain situations like that. It's very niche, but is very usable when it's there. Succession, of course, similar. Recombination and Vorpal is what you're going to want. Or sorry, Reconstruction, not Recombination. Reconstruction and Vorpal. You have the newer one or the older craftable one. Basically fills that same sort of niche that Heritage does. A sort of useful utility weapon, kind of just like Mountaintop is. They kind of fit different ranges. Like Heritage is the close version, or the close range. Succession is the long precision, and Mountaintop is kind of the general, use for everything else as far as utility weapons go. We have Forerunner here, going to be very important with sidearms being prevalent as they are, as well as for Tormentors. There will be Tormentors in the final shape. This thing is incredible at torching them down. I would recommend having Forerunner for day 1. I cannot stress this enough. You also get the grenade, but specifically because of the precision damage, it's elite. Very ammo conservative as well. We have a couple blinding gel options. You guys can do Ignition Code, Slide Shot, and Frenzy, of course. Or you can do something like the Pardon or Dust, which gets auto-loading and Vorpal. Moving on, we have Swordbreaker, or just really any 1-2 punch shotty. This one's just nice because it gets those. I spelled it wrong. That's sad. We're not going to look at that. But you can get Pugilist and 1-2 punch. It's incredible. It surges super well with something like Banner of War and Strand Titan, so it's something to think about. Until Its Return is also solid. We have it on here just because it's a rapid fire. Gets Vorpal, is solid. Also gets a couple of things like Surrounded, and I think it also gets sorry, I'm gonna double check real quick. Until Its Return also gets Trench Barrel, which is something to think about. Yeah. Okay. Other niche things. RB is a little bit less niche than I'm saying it is right now. It's good for anti-barriers. It's good for precision damage. RB is something to use. Very good. Bastion. Very similar to Cerberus. Anything that's vehicle oriented might be a little more niche, but very usable. Something to think about going into final shape. Tusk of the Boar, a little bit niche. Like we said, they're nerfing chain reaction specifically for wave frames. But if you don't want to use specifically forbearance and you want to have a chain reaction GL, Tusk of the Boar is a great option. And lastly, Navigator, of course, for Banner Titans. Obviously, they're fixing that, but I think a lot of people are speculating it's still going to work on PC, and it still offers a lot of different uses outside of just being for grapple points. So, yeah, it's mostly what it's used for, but also has other alternatives like Woven Mail. Very solid. You can just toss that around. It's the only trace that I'm really recommending 100% to possibly bring to Final Shape Raid. All right. Energy primaries. Things are getting nerfed. Sunshot, Graviton, Trinity, all very good. Polaris is also getting nerfed, but also going to be really good. Polaris, not as much, obviously, but still something to think about. If we really need it, it's not on this list, but if you guys want to bring it, go crazy. We have Subjunctive. You have Threat Detector or Stats for All with Volt Shot. Incredible. Like the best SMG in the game because of its origin perk. Really, really good. Callus Mini Tool is just the best solar option here. You also can use the Bug Out Bag with Threat Detector and Incandescence. That's what I'm using on my Callus. Also gets Unrelenting Incandescence on Callus Mini Tool. And I think you can also get Subsistence on the Bug Out Bag. So if you want a Subsistence in can roll, also an option there. We have Recluse here, which has a plethora of good rolls. I think my personal favorite was Threat Detector and specifically the new perk. What's it called? Desperate Measures. So Desperate Measures and Threat Detector, very good. D-Stab Repulsor, also fine. Lots of different options. Recluse is fantastic. Basically the best Void SMG we have at the moment, so definitely pick it up, try it out. Zaldi's Bane, of course. Incan and Explosive Payload. incredible combo. Enough said about that. BXR, demo in can, very good pulse, best solar post, pretty much in the game. I don't think there's anything that really competes. All right, we have Vex Mythic class, something to think about for day one. With the champ buff, is going to nuke things, so definitely keep it on your radar for one-tapping some champs. That might be very helpful in day one. Nation of Beast, just another solid hand cannon. Volt Shot and Dragonfly, or what is it? Or no, is it? I think fuck. It's Volt Shot and Explosive Payload, or Explosive Payload and Dragonfly. Sorry, those are the two roles. Oversoul Edict with demo and Volt Shot, incredibly good. Elsie's Rifle has a lot of different roles. You have Destabilizing and Repulsor, which is obviously really good. I like Frenzy and Under Over as well for champs, because it is going to be Pulse for anti-barrier. So something to very much think about going into final shape. Risk Runner we have just in case of anytime you need arc resist and a decent add clear weapon. Risk is great. Refills the mag, lots of electricity, kind of like Volt Shot. So solid. So it's going to be Unstop for sidearms. So we have Drang here, pretty much the best option most of the time. You also have Heliocentric, incredible option, and Brigand's Law. These are the three kind of best sidearms that you can use in the energy slot if you're ever looking for one. These are the options. Heliocentric, you can do demo in can or heal clip in can. Drang, you can do disruption break in can, or you can do like well-rounded in can. And on Brigand's Law, it's Volt Shot and Threat Detector. So there you go. Vouchsafe, Doom and Chelch's Bride's Love. Obviously, scouts are going to be prominent for champs, so Vouchsafe is really good with rapid hit and explosive payload. Also has D-Stab and Repulsor. Doom and Chelch's has Firefly and Dragonfly, and it can also get explosive payload. So something to think about. Bride's Love also gets that rapid hit explosive payload role that people are looking at. Tarnished Metal gets a couple really solid rolls. We were actually just talking about this. I'm a big fan of this weapon. So I'm going to drink a sip of water here for a second. But yeah, it gives Volt Shot. Like demo Volt Shot's going to be my personal favorite, but it also gets rapid hit Volt Shot, which is incredible, and Shoot to Loot. In the final column also gets Dragonfly and explosive payload, if you're curious about that, over Volt Shot. And in the last spot here for scouts, we have Trust E, which is very good with rapid hit and in can. Trust E, I'm pretty sure also gets explosive payload. It does not. Okay, I lied. No, just do in can rapid hit then. Okay. Le Monarch, Overload Champs, solid bow, and Word of Crota is a little bit niche. Void hand cannons aren't that great, so if you want one, here's one. You can also get Exalted Truth, I'm pretty sure, is a 140 that gets Frenzy and Under Over. Optative is also something that you guys can think about. It's a 120. Okay. Energy Specials, something a little bit lighter. You have Merciless here, which is just incredible for damage. You have Forbearance, obviously, which you're going to want Ambitious and Chain Reaction, or the new one gets Demo and Chain Reaction, which is something to think about. Even with the nerf, I still think it's going to be solid. Forb has always been a staple of day one, even with the slight nerf, just like Sunshot, Grab, and Trinity. I think it's still going to be very meta and usable. Indebted Kindness, the incredible, fantastic gun that it is probably the hottest commodity in PvE right now. You're going to want Lead from Gold and Volt Shot on it, or you could do Beacon Rounds on it. I think Lead from Gold's a bit better in a day one scenario because you're looking for ammo economy. This thing is incredibly ammo economic. I think that's, how you say it. And it's just really, really fucking good for shredding red bars and champs and everything else. It's awesome. Get one. Play Warlords.
Yeah,
go get it. Warlords great dungeon. Yes.
It is farmable. Any encounter.
Yes. Cartesian, if you guys don't have it, sells a lot of Banshee. Vorpal's what you want on it. Lead from Gold preferably, and then slot before. Solid. Go out and get one if you don't have one. Pray that Banshee sells one before Final Shape Raid. Nessa's Oblation with Recon and Vorpal is going to be insanely solid, especially with the Void synergies that we're getting. Philo, if you guys are on Arc Titan for some reason, maybe we need a T-Crash. Go crazy. Philo is just auto Vorpal on the first in, last out, if you're curious what that is. Same as Nessa's, just that, Oh, sorry. It's Recon Vorpal for Nessa's, and for Philo, it's auto-loading Vorpal. All right. The Icalo Shoddy also gets Pugilist and 1-2 Punch. Enough said. If you're a Strand Titan, get one. Div, of course, even with the nerfs to Div, I'm assuming Div is still going to be usable. Maybe not in the Final Shape Raid, but you never know when you need a Div. Always good for day one content. especially for nuking tormentors. I think this is going to be great. So something to think about. Wilder Flight and Empty Vessel are just two really solid GLs, just a double shot and gets blinding. So using it for damage rotations, or if you're using it for blinding, feel free to do something like that any time of the week. I use it all the time. It's great. Fourth Horseman is really solid just for that extra burst DPS. I never really use it in day ones, but you never know. Maybe something funks out. And sorry, by the way, the rolls for Wilder Flight and Empty Vessel. For Wilder Flight, I like auto-loading Frenzy or Vorpal. And I get Spike Nades, of course, for damage. And for other stuff, like we said, Blinding. Empty Vessel, I'm pretty sure, is just, like, what does it get? Yeah, it gets Lead. Wow, it doesn't get anything great in Final Column. Lead Vorpal. I don't even think... Oh, no, sorry, auto-loading Vorpal. Thank you. Oh, my God. I am actually bad. Sorry, auto-loading Vorpal for both of them. Wilder Flight, you can also get Frenzy in the fourth column. There you go. Okay, Heavy. Last but not least for weapons, we have Eager Edge Swords. Very important in any content, especially for day ones. For speed, you never know. Like Crota, very useful for first encounter. I think Slammer is going to be your best option if you guys are good at skating and stuff and you don't waste ammo that often. Definitely get one of these with Eager Edge and Cold Steel. Definitely the number one option, I would say, for Eager Edge just in the game at the moment. Falling Guillotine isn't bad either, especially if you want to use it with the Void synergies that we're going to get. You can do something like Eager and Chain Reaction is something to think about. I think it also gets Frenzy in that column, so decent. You can also use something like the other half and Half Truths. Both solid. They both get Eager Edge. That's really all that you care about as far as, perks go. Cataphract and Edge Transit and Caraxes' Distress. So, by the way, if you guys are curious why I have brackets on any of these, I talked about at the beginning of the video, but just to reiterate, it is just because this is the more niche stuff. So the more niche stuff is in brackets. If it's not, then it's going to be more usable, I would assume, just in general use. So Cataphract and Edge Transit, you want auto-loading and bait and switch. Or you want Envious. Envious is a little bit better, but if you die, yeah, if you guys are worried about dying in a day one, auto-loading is great. Also, for Edge Transit, Cascade Point and bait and switch. They talked about maybe nerfing something with the double perks because a lot of people talked about Envious swapping to Cascade with bait and switch. Still not 100% sure on that. They haven't really talked about it, so definitely just go and try to get one. That is like the number one weapon you should try and go get right now because it is the highest damaging heavy in the game, like by far, bar none. So go and get one if you can. And even if they do nerf it, you can still use regular Cascade and Edge, especially on Hunter with not strand rotations, stasis rotations, because you can throw with your melee to reload your weapon. You also have your dodge reloads, and you can use something like Lucky Pants as well, with like a Warden's or a Malfeasance, and go absolutely insane with it. And using something like Ness's Oblation, right, because it gets that precision void damage and matches surges. So lots of different options. Caraxes is essentially the same thing. You're still going to want Envious. I think it also gets Reconstruction, but instead of bait and switch in that last column, you're looking for Surrounded. It's also craftable, very solid. Okay, but like I said, niche because Surrounded's hard to proc sometimes. Rockets though, Apex, Cold Comfort. You want bait and switch. If you're on Cold Comfort, you want Envious. If you're on Apex, you want Reconstruction. Bipod is also very nice if you guys really want a bipod rocket. Things to consider. If you want to avoid one, Braid Tech Osprey. Go get one. Add Clear LMG, honestly, whatever you want. Commemoration's great. Reconstruction Killing Tally. You can do Hammerhead. You can do Rewind Killing Tally. You can do Destabilizing Killing Tally. Lots of different options. Killing Tally is just kind of the go-to, and a reload perk is great, or an AoE perk, like we said, Destabilizing. Whisper of the Worm, for sure, something to get. And if you don't have one crafted, get one with Field Prep. Get one with, Whisper Breathing, of course. Make sure you have that nail all the way up to 4, and you're good to go. Doom Petitioner, 2 separate roles you can think about. Recon Precision Instrument, or Surrounded if you can get to proc. Tractor Cannon, of course, for damage, and for Titans, of course. Dragon's Breath for Ad Clear, and just for general DPS. Great for total damage. Xenophage is very ammo economic. We used it in things like Kingsfall Day 1. Just good at clearing ads that are sort of chunky, but not like incredibly chunky, and being ammo efficient. It's very solid. Same thing with Gala. Same sort of niche. And also, of course, for damage, you need a Gala. Everybody, rockets are still incredible, and you can't always use your GLs depending on if you need that burst damage. Think of things like Planets right? You really want those rockets. Parasite and Grand Overture for that burst damage. Great for ad clear. Great for boss usage. Something like Atrax, if we ever see that short damage phase. Great options. Levies for champs, of course, as well as just nuking the shit out of everything sometimes. For ad clear, if you really want to go crazy with it, there's probably better options. But Levies is just good for overall usage. Also decent for damage. So, yeah, if you need a Levies, if you're worried about champs and you have that extra exotic slot open, or if you're using it for damage, something to consider. Same thing with Acreus. Acreus gets slept on all the time. Acreus at close ranges, we're not going to be able to use surrounded swords like Bequest, which I'll get to in a moment. Acreus is the move. So if we can't use a surrounded sword, let's use Acreus. I'm saying that now. It's going to be great. But if you can, Bequest is the best option with surrounded and relentless strikes. If you're looking for a sword to do damage with, surrounded, of course, 3 enemies around you. We use it for Crota. Is the best damaging sword in the game, bar none. Nothing even comes close because of the impact changes, differences between the next best adaptive, which is Caretaker. It's the second best sword in the game because of its frame, the adaptive frame being the best for damage. Truth we have on here, specifically because they've talked about a catalyst and a rework for Truth. Not 100% on here, so be skeptical of this one. Try it out for yourself. See what other people talk about. And, yeah, that's it for all the weapons. Anything I missed? Mr. Day One team.
Pretty much everything. Pretty much everything. I'd just say for rockets, if you are intending on doing rockets for damage strats, have 1 person on Dragon's Breath, 1 person on Galahorn, and 4 people on normal rockets. It is worth having 1 person on Dragon's Breath on your team.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for weapons. Sorry, it's taking a long time for the video as far as just length. There's a lot to go through. That's all of the weapons that are relatively meta right now that we assume are going to be sort of, meta going into the final shape with the, what's it called? With the artifact. There are, of course, going to be other things that we're going to miss. We're going to bring up more in a couple days before final shape, but this is just for the last minute, before final shape drops, what I want to go get it now type beat. These are the weapons. All right. So, exotics that you're going to be looking at for, our day one sort of scenario. Celestial, of course, for Hunter. Star Eaters as well. Just, the 2 best damaging things. Assassin's Cal is great for invis and just, general ad clear is not bad. Just having it. But yeah, honestly, survivability, great. Orpheus Rig, of course, just getting your tether back, using it for ad clear. It's incredible. You've seen it in an Onslaught. It's just absolutely mercs. Lucky Pants, of course, for damage. Incredible. I mean, nothing left to be said besides, like, it's, the best burst DPS in the game right now. It actually beats out Goldie, but with the new Goldie Sniper, that build rotation might be a little bit better. So, Shards of Galanor. This is incredible for ad clear right now, especially with something like Dragon's Breath. It combos very well with Ignitions and Spreading Scorch and all of that. Definitely something to look out for. RDMs, of course, for damage, as well as just general use. RDMs are incredible. Infinite dodges, obviously good. We like infinite dodges. Knucklehead Radar, a little bit niche, but if you can, swapping to it when the boss is it's less than 30% health, right?
Yep. Yeah, less than 30.
So you swap, you get a little bit of a damage buff. And yeah, definitely something to think about.
Yeah, you get 1% every 1% of missing HP, so it can basically go all the way up to 29%, which is pretty nice for a final stand.
Yes. Something like Rolk, where everyone was like panicking, doing stuff like that. Knucklehead could be very useful. Omni, of course, if you guys are worried about, extra just living survivability, sorry. Omni's great. Stompies, of course, for jumping bubbles, just movements. Aeons, of course, for heavy. And we have 6 Coyote here, just in case you guys really need some extra suspend. There's also a lot of different invis and general ad clear loadouts. A lot of people talking to me about Caliban's Hand, a couple other things. If you guys have an ad clear loadout you really like, go for it. This is just sort of the meta stuff that people are using right now. And like I said, 6 Coyote's niche. It's just if you really need that suspend for some reason on Hunter, you can get quad suspend, go crazy. All right. Titan, we have Worm Gods, Curus, Synthos. Of course, Worm Gods, Synthos, solid for Banner of War, for, that Strand Titan build that I just said. And you can also use them on Solar, of course, specifically Synthos. Bonk Titan, still go Burr. You can use Curus for T-Crash damage, of course. Helm of Same 14 getting reworked, of course, for the new Weapons of Light and how Bubble works. May be usable for Final Shape for damage, so think about it. Ursa is similar. It's sort of like a nicher damage because you're not able to damage as your Titan, right, when you're using this sort of exotic, but it also extends the duration, and it is super useful for just blocking damage and also bumping your teammates. So think like we did Golgoroth, right, coming back into D2, very usable, also usable in a ton of other encounters as well. But yeah, we have Abandoned Leaps, again, if you need Ultra Suspend for some reason. A little bit niche, but something to think about. Lion's Ramparts, of course, for movement. Aeons for heavy. Pyrogales for damage, right? For Titans, getting your Pyrogales off. Loreley's just for survivability. It's kind of the best one right now that I can think of off the top of my head for Solar Titans. Strongholds as well. Something to think about. Day 1 Crota. He was a bitch. We put on Strongholds, put on a sword, and had one person tank during my Day 1 team because he was just nuking us in 5 seconds no matter what you did. So Strongholds definitely something to think about for taking a lot of damage. Paragon Greaves, incredible for nuking champions, and might be really synergistic with the void stuff that we have. Just solid to think about for general usage. And I put this in here because everyone was talking to me. There's so many solar, exotics that you could use, and I was like, I don't fucking care. There's so many you can use, whatever you want. There's so many. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 probably exotics I didn't talk about here that are solar related that are incredible for Titan. So yeah, like we were talking about it is like Scars, what's it called? Phoenix Cradle, Hollow Fire Heart, so many other things. Definitely a lot of other solar exotics. If you guys have your preference, feel free. I just like Loreley's because it's kind of like the most usable at high-end content from what I've seen. All right, last thing we're going to talk about is Heart of Inmost Light. Alex brought up a great point. Shout out Alex, the editor, man. Him and I were going back and forth about this. I said I wasn't sure yet, but it is something to think about for Final Shape. So if you don't know how Heart of Inmost Light works, it's every time you're using an ability, your other abilities are empowered, and it's very solid in something like a prismatic possibly. So where you're using a fuck ton of abilities, this is something to think about because you're just scaling everything else, and you're getting that regen also for the abilities you don't have, which is very good. All right. Last but not least, sorry, Quack 6 is in the way. I will take off Quack 6 for the moment. I'm sorry, my boy. No. All right. This is Warlock. We're going to talk about all of the Warlock stuff. Of course, Sunbracers, even with the nerf, still going to be okay. I would say we talked about it a lot too. Phoenix Protocol might be a little bit better for a Day 1 sort of general use at the moment with the Sunbracers nerf. Sunbracers is better for low-end content for sure, but for high-end, fusions are king. So Phoenix might be a little bit more usable at Day 1, but we'll see. We'll see. 4 nades is still decent. I know my boy Clarity and I have gone back and forth on this a little bit too. So just stuff to think about. Zenithaf.
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
Starfire as well. I was going to say Starfire Protocol for the fusion.
Oh yeah, I said Phoenix. I meant Starfire. I didn't mean Phoenix Protocol. Yeah, Phoenix Protocol is for well. Sorry, I meant Starfire for fusion nades. My bad. That's
and I think it depends on the ads, right? Like if there's more mages and stuff, then Starfire is better. But then if it's like a bunch of Scions, and Sunbracers will be better.
Yep. All right. Zenithaf got nerfed. We can talk about it. So you can't see it when something is marked unless you are a teammate of that person, which is weird, but that's going to be a thing. And you also can't double mark something, which is totally, viable not viable, but understandable because of how stupid Zenithaf used to be. So yeah. Still going to be solid though. Guys, heavy ammo. We have Aeons and Zenithaf on here for a reason. Use them all the time in master content and Day 1 content because heavy is fucking king. You need heavy all the time. All right. Phoenix Protocol. Incredible. Chainwells. You've seen it in Onslaught. Keep doing it. Incredible for Day 1s. Necrotics. Great for damage. Great for just general usage. Osteo, Necrotic Grips goes insane. So definitely something to think about. Of course, we talked about Aeons again for heavy ammo. Briarbinds and Controverse Hold just for them solid void add clear builds. If you get time in between your solar and prismatic usage. We have Apotheosis and a Rain of Fire, of course, for those quick weapon swaps and reloads for you and your fire team. Does Apotheosis works with your fire team too, right?
It does. Everyone gets
okay.
insane grenade recharge.
Yes. Lunafactors, of course, for the fire team reload speed. So if you ever end up using something like levies or just honestly damage in general, Lunafactors is incredible getting that maximum reload speed. Just insane. I don't know what the multiplier is, but it's crazy. Or no, isn't it just max? It's just whatever the fastest is for it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so there you go. I definitely spelled transversives wrong, but that's fine. Transversive steps, of course, for movement, go crazy, and verities is something to think about just in case we have an what's it called, Atheon sort of situation where you need to be yeeting a fuck ton of nades for damage, and you can keep your stacks up. So that is everything. This is everything you should be looking for Final Shape right now. It'll change next week. I guarantee you in a couple days I'm going to make a whole new video, but I guarantee you 90% of everything that's on here, 95 probably, is still going to be great and fantastic for Final Shape. Go get it. Go now. Sorry this video was long, but there you go. That's it all. Any closing thoughts? Clarity, what do you got?
I would say get out there, get an indebted kindness. That thing is super strong right now.
Yes.
Make sure you got a good rocket. Make sure you got a good GL. And have some good snipers too, and you'll be all set. Not much time left. Get out there, do what you can, and good luck for the day one.
Good luck, everybody. That is it. That is all of the things, all of the weapons and armor that you should be looking for. If you don't already have it, if you have any questions about rolls or any other armor pieces in the comments, or if anything that I missed, point it out. And best of luck in the day one. You have one day to grind. Go grind out. And we'll see you again next week when we update this with the new sandbox. Have a great day. Deuces.